up, fellow Sambarians? Man, it's been a while since I made a video. 9 days, seems like eternity. 1, it's been pretty cold. 2, I was really sick over Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving break plus me being sick and just, man, it's been crazy. I'm painting and moving my office since kind of growing a little bit, so we needed some more space to start holding more parts and just a better environment to work in instead of the little nook I was working in above the stairs, which was cool, but I'm getting a little big for that spot. So the last video I made, I did kind of like the basics. Hope everyone's okay there. I did kind of just the basics on the KS and the KV. Just where stuff is located. I know I kind of just put that video together on a whim, so I didn't really put too much thought into it. So there were just a couple more things I'm going to point out on this kind of part 2 video. This one's going to be on, let's say you're getting a sandbar or you have a sandbar and you kind of want to do some modifying. You want to lift it, you want to lower it. I'll kind of give you the pros and cons of doing those modifications because I've done them myself on both, on all my KSs and KVs. So this one's just going to be like, you know, if you got questions about lifting, lowering, what's it going to do, what wheels can I put on, what tires should I run, is it going to hurt this, is it going to stretch out this, is it, you know, I'll try to answer some of those questions while pointing out some things on my KS JA truck. Is slightly it's not totally different, but it is different than my super deluxe normal sandbar. There are a couple more little things, and like I said, the one I made was very quick and didn't put too much thought into it, and I had some questions afterwards that I was like, oh yeah, I should have mentioned that, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So this is kind of like a part 2. I'm going to show all my vehicles so you can kind of get an idea of what some of the modifying that you can do to them. And you know, you can do what you want, obviously in the end it's your sandbar, but I'm going to point out what our potential coolness is and potential badness is if you do what you're going to do. So right now, obviously, I have my my KS4, the JA. I think JA stands for Japanese Agriculture. So it is slightly different than my white KS. It has a couple more things that the white truck has and a couple less things than the white truck has. So it's just kind of back and forth. I don't know a whole lot on it. I really need to research kind of the whole background on the JA trucks. As far as, you know, there's some sticker there. Okay, there's a sticker in there that I'm sure only the JA trucks have. Back on the back panel, I'll point that out. And just kind of stuff. I think it translated to something like farming and just be careful, don't crash. I think I gotta go over that stuff again. But anyways, this is a 92 KS4. And again, KS and KV. KS stands for truck, KV stands for van. KS3 is a 2-wheel drive, KS4 is a 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. KV3, 2-wheel drive, KV4, 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So this is my KS4. My KS4 has a 2-inch, I think it's a 2-inch lift on the front and back. So as you can see, it is slightly higher. It is slightly higher than your stock KS truck. And how that works is, if you're interested in doing it, I I don't want to say who sells kits and all that stuff because I have no background with them or know anything about them, but I know Harley Rose or something gets a lot of kits out there. So you can buy, they're basically spacers that mount on top of your coilovers up front, and then there's a spacer that mounts on top of your coil in the back. So basically it just lifts the truck up. So very basic. I know that there are lift springs. So there are springs that have that are sprung higher or whatever, so it doesn't sit down as low, so you'll get more lift with the higher spring. Yeah, I would just think that would make you be a way stiffer ride, but I don't know. That's another route to go with the springs. I have the spacers. I'll show you that. So the only problem, the one downside of having a lifted sandbar, even though it looks cool, the one problem is your CV axles are at a super wonky angle. Now, that goes with every single truck in the world that is lifted. I used to work at Bob Baker Chevrolet Subaru, and guys would come in with big old lifted Chevy trucks, and their CV axles were like 45 degrees, and you know, it's terrible on your CV axles and your joints, your tie rods, ball joints. Everything is at its max. Like, don't put at this position spot, and so stuff rips. I mean, my CV axle boots have already ripped. I haven't gone through any CV axles joints themselves because, well, I just haven't. Knock on wood. I don't really off-road this thing. About as off-roading as I get was a fire road going up to Mount Rainier, and after that trip I ripped a couple CV axle boots because it's put to its max already sitting like that, and then once you're putting a lot of strain on the suspension and everything going over the ruts and all that stuff, it obviously speeds up the deterioration of these boots and CV axles. So luckily it was just a boot, and that's an easy fix, so I replaced the boot. So that is one thing that you have to take into mind when you lift your sandbar. They do make body kit lifts, so if you don't want to put those CV axles to the max, they do make body kits that will lift up the body just like any other truck. The little spacers that go in between the body and the frame lifts it up, so then you just get more clearance. Basically, you get more clearance with your body. You do your spacers on the coils, you get more clearance overall because you're lifting the whole truck up off the ground. The only issue I see with the body kit is in the back. You're going to get a bigger gap between you and the engine cover, obviously, because the body is sitting farther away from the engine cover, and the engine cover is mounted to the frame. I'll be right back. I think the ducks are freaking out. We're all good. I kind of heard one of them flap really hard, and we had one get swooped up by an owl, I think, a couple weeks ago, so that was terrible, and so we're extra cautious with our ducks. So let's kind of do a little walk around, and you can kind of see what I'm talking to about the spacers and all that stuff. So if that's what you want to do is lift it, then this can kind of help you out. Okay, so when I say spacers, this is what I'm referring to. So this is like a 2-inch spacer that goes in between the top of your coil over your shock, whatever, McPherson strut, and then goes in between the shock mount, and so that's what gives you that lift. Front and back, goes on top of the coil, spaces it down. As far as like the shock extensions go, I did not need to do shock extensions on this. Some guys do, apparently, with the higher sprung springs or coils. but I know they make extensions for these guys, so it gives you that more travel, because I guess they'll bottom out quicker, obviously, or not bottom out, but droop out faster. So if that is an issue, they do make like extensions that mount on, I think it's probably the bottom, and then it gives you a little bit more room, so these have more droop, because obviously it's only going to droop as far as that shock's going to allow it to droop. And this is what I'm talking about. If you do your body kit, this is a very small gap in the back, and this becomes, about 2 inches. So if you can deal with the ginormous gap, and I don't think it'll even latch anymore, because this is going to go up. If you can figure out how to remount this to bring it up, then that will work with your body kit, or just run it naked. Allow more air to get into the back, which is better. But yeah, so, and if you do lift it, what that's going to allow you to do is obviously run some meatier tires. I think these are about 24 inches overall height. So, and I think stock is about 23 inches. I will have to double check on that. But they're not much taller than stock. So as far as like speed goes, it's going to help you out, obviously, in the top end, because you have taller tires. So you're not going to be maxed out so quickly on RPM spinning these bigger tires. But they are obviously bigger and slightly heavier tires. So it's going to be a little quicker, a little harder to get up to speed. But just allows you to have some meatier tires. These are the MT-08 Forcium Mickey Thompson, I think it is. Mickey Thompson tires. 165/80 13s on these Sparcos. Now, these 13-inch Sparcos do not require spacers. If you run a 165/80 13 Forcium tire like this one with 13-inch Sparcos, I don't know the offset, but if you get 13-inch Sparcos, they are all the same. The offset and the width, I think they're 13x5s. They are all the same, so it doesn't matter. If you run this tire, then you're going to be just fine without a spacer. Without a spacer, you're going to be okay without a spacer. I personally ran spacers because the tires were sucked in, and I wanted to give them a little tiny bit of poke. I'd rather have it poke out just a tiny bit than have them sucked in. I didn't really like the sucked in look, and I'm not a huge fan of tire poke, but this is just enough poke where it looks clean, because the tires aren't sucked in and they look small, because they are skinny tires. I mean, they're very skinny wheels and tires, just like the stock ones. So I have 15 millimeter spacers on here, so it pokes them out just a little bit, and it works perfect with these MT-08 Forciums with these tires. I know if you run a different brand, my buddy Scott Fusco, maybe he can chime in the comments. He has a different set of tires with the same exact wheels, and he rubs. So those tires are wider than these ones. So he does have to run. He is forced to run spacers, while I am not forced to run spacers. So that is completely up to you as far as running the spacers or not. So back to the JA. So if your truck was a JA, you'll most likely have a JA emblem up on the hood, which is going to tell you it's a JA. And I'll show you some cool little features that the JA has that others do not. Okay, so if you haven't noticed already on your Sambar wiper blades, or if you don't have one and you're getting one, and if you know it's a JA or it's not a JA, the wiper blade, the wiper motor has a high and a low. The JA though, however, has an intermittent, so that's nice, because instead of just full on. There's an intermittent, which is cool. So if you didn't know, now you know. So it will go up, and then it'll go back down, and it'll sit, and then it'll go back up again. So that's kind of a cool feature, because then your wiper blades aren't whipping around like a crazy person's car in the middle of the rain, which you can usually tell who's a crazy driver in the rain when they're by their wiper blade speed. At least I look for that. If your wiper blades are going like this and it's drizzling, I usually try to stay out of your way, because I have a feeling you don't know how to drive. No offense, but let's move. Let's keep moving. So you'll notice also on the JA you'll have little stickers. There's one there. There's one on the back here. So that's kind of a cool thing. You can use Google Translate, and you can yes sir. You can use Google Translate and translate all the fun stickers in your cab, which, if you didn't know, Google has an app, and you can download the app, and then you can actually translate with pictures. I know a lot of people know this, but I didn't, and I was trying to figure out what all this stuff says. So instead of trying to ask people to translate stuff for you in groups and online, whatever, just download that Google app and point your phone at it, and it will literally translate it in live time, what it says, and then you can take a picture of it and look at it later. But that's kind of a cool little feature. The JA also, I mean, not that it really matters, but both sides have door switches. My normal Super Deluxe KS4 does not have door switches on both sides, so that's kind of cool. Trying to see. And also I had someone ask, where is the fuse box? Actually, my dad asked me. So if you're let's see here, there we go. If you're looking for your fuse box, right to the left of your column is your fuse box. You can and depending on who owned this before and what wires they ran where, you might see a medley of wires down there, but that's your fuse box. And then again, you can Google Translate which each fuse is. I mean, check them, and if one is blown, then is probably something that was supposed to be working is blown. But that is your fuse box. I'm gonna try to. There's usually a bunch of wires down here that look like they should be connected to stuff. Might be on my van, which is a later year, but the open plugs aren't usually something to be concerned about. The open plugs are just for the diagnostic tools from Subaru to check for check engine lights and all that good stuff. Trying to think. Well, if you're looking for where your VIN is, or when you're getting a truck, there's your VIN. It's usually on the left little kick panel there on the passenger side. I'll show you something cool in the back now. So if you come to the back, I'm not sure, this might just be a JA version thing, but the JAs had backup alarms. So you'll notice on the right hand side, if you got this thing, that's a backup alarm. I just unplugged it. There's the plug. I unplugged it because it's very loud and obnoxious when you're backing up. So that's kind of a cool little feature that the JAs had, was the backup alarm, to keep from running over your homie. And I've also had a lot of people ask about this. This is like your emission sticker, and depending on carbureted, fuel injected, supercharged, they're all slightly different. But if yours is missing this emission sticker, I do have a replica that you can stick back here if you want it to look like how it did rolling out of the factory. So just FYI, That's what that sticker is, because I've had people ask where that sticker is and what that sticker is and why do I make it. And I just make it for fun, just because it looks cool, because there's something there that was supposed to be there, so I just put it back. So that's what that is. But I think that's kind of it with the JA. Oh yeah, so let me show you the CV axles. Oh man, the ducks are going crazy. Okay. So the CV axles are, I'm getting dripped on. The CV axles aren't like super maxed out on angle right there. So, I mean, I think it really just depends on how hard you're going to be driving it. If you're going to be putting a whole lot of stress on it, let's see if we can see the back one. Well, man. I mean, there's the front one. I mean, it's definitely got an angle to it. And here's the back one. I mean, this is the one I had to replace. So, and see down here, right there, there's an extension that they make for your shock. So, if it tops out or droops out too quick, they make an extension that goes there, and then gives you a little more travel on that end. But see, it is at obviously slightly more angle. It's not crazy, but it is going to put a little more stress on those CV axles than they did when they rolled out of the factory. So that's just one thing to keep into mind, that you may want to stock up on CV axle boots just in case. These ones I got off of eBay. They're for like a UTV, but they fit the Sambar, and they're heavy duty, whatever. And they work great. They were good. They do their job, basically. So obviously my lowered sandbars, I mean the CV axles are almost flat, while these ones are sitting at an angle. So I went over to the suspension, what kind of wheels will fit. I mean, you can obviously fit much bigger wheels than a 13-inch on here, since you're lifted and you got more space. With these tires, I don't rub, I don't hit anything, I didn't have to trim anything. So like I said, these tires, the Forcium, the Mickey Thompson Forciums 165/80 13s, don't even need spacers. You're good to go with these tires on a 13-inch wheel. So I kind of think, and as far as installing the lift kit, that's obviously a video for another day. I was just showing, what you can do. So let me bring in my lowered truck, and then we can kind of go over all that stuff. I almost forgot one more thing on the JA. You'll notice that your back light has a little garage door, or your ball cooler. This is for when you're driving, and I mean, this truck has AC in it, but obviously these trucks did not come stock with AC. It was like a dealer option. So these were just farm trucks, so most of the time they probably didn't have air conditioning. This had AC installed at some point, but these lights act as little air vents, so you can open that flap. And I was supposed to be getting a bunch of these in, but I gotta check on that. And I was gonna try to sell these guys because they're pretty cool. Because all the other ones are usually just flat and there is no vent. But yeah, I just want to point that out. On the JA, they have the vents. They may be on different versions of the sandbars, I'm not sure, but I know for sure the JA version, my other KS did not have these, and I had to install it after the fact. Okay, so obviously you've seen this white truck. It's the one I used in the little basic video I made. I a week ago. So this truck is obviously lowered. It has bigger wheels and it is lowered. So I wanted to use this one more for an example because it's better in the van. This one actually required a little bit of work to make these wheels and tires and height work. So it's getting cold. It's really starting to snow. So I think this is gonna be my last truck. Hypothermia. Can't keep this tent warm enough. So this truck, the KS4, the Super Deluxe. I don't know why it's Super Deluxe. Not very Super Deluxe-y to me. It is lowered on the Greddy down springs. And that's another thing. If you're looking for lowering springs for your Sambar or whatever, if you're looking for them in Japan, they are down springs in Japan. So you need to search down springs, not lowering springs. So these are Greddy down springs, and I think it was like 3/4 of an inch or something, around 3/4 of an inch. The ones that I have in my van were about 1 inch to 1.25 inches maybe, and they're drooping. They've drooped since they've been installed. Obviously they're starting to sag a little bit, so it's a good 1.5 inches-ish. This one has dropped down probably a good inch over time. I've had them on this truck for 3 or 4 months now. I'm very happy with the Greddys. The ones on the van, I think they're a little too soft. They look sick, but I think they're too soft for the van. Even though they were supposedly made for the van is heavier. I think those ones probably would have worked better on here and vice versa. Because the ones on the van, it will bottom out. Not like, destroying anything, but it will bottom out. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind if you're going to go with lower or down springs or lowering springs. Your weight. You gotta know how much weight are you usually carrying around in this thing, because that's going to probably play a huge factor on drivability on lowering springs on those vans anyways. Unless you can find a stiffer set of down springs, which I may try to find something stiffer and try putting those ones on here and see if the ride is any better. But anyways, this one is lowered on the Greddy down springs, and I am on 15-inch wheels. So the other one was 13s. My green van are 14s, and these are 15s. They are all Sparcos. These are 15 by 6.5, I believe. Yeah, 15 by 6.5. The offset on these is, I don't know what it is, but they're all the same. If you got these Sparcos, they're all going to be the same offset. You can't get different offsets. These do rub. With these tires, if you went with a slightly different tire, it may not rub, but it is like, the front was very close. The backs were definitely rubbing on part of the frame, which you could easily shave off. I think it's more of the mount for the rear engine cover, so you could shave off. It kind of goes to a lip, kind of has a lip on the end. You could probably shave that flush with the truck, and then you probably would be okay. But the fronts were rubbing on the coil, so there was nothing I could do about that. But if you plan on lowering it, and you go with like these Sparcos, be ready for spacers. So the spacers I did on this were the 15 millimeters. And that just made it fit just perfect. So 15 millimeters was good, and it gave it just a little bit of poke, not too much poke out the side. But I did have to do some adjusting to make them fit. So you can see here it's very close. Very, very close. So with that being said, The mud flap is obviously it's going because the mud flap, it would hit the mounting hardware on the mud flap, and I couldn't just like shave this part off because it would just delete the mounting hardware for the mud flap. So I figured I would just take the entire mud flap off and not ruin it and save it just in case I decide to go with something different. We can put the mud flaps back on. But these are 15 by 6.5s on 180 205 50 15s. I know that you could probably get like a 195 40 15, and it may fit, because these tires, as you can see, they're pretty straight up and down, because they're a wide tire. If you went with the not so wide tire, it might bring that sidewall in a little bit more, and you could probably get away with not running spacers because that bulge won't be hitting anything. I don't know, can't say for sure, but if you're planning on going that route, just be ready for spacer options or a different tire. But these are Falcons, and I freaking love these Falcons. I took it out today in the rain. Now it's snowing, but I took it out in the rain today, and I was trying to get her squirrely sideways on a couple turns coming back, and it would not break loose. I mean, the motors, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the motor, but it didn't matter. These tires did not want to let go, so they're pretty. These tires are pretty sticky. So I really like these tires. And since it is lowered, obviously we're not going to have any issues with our CV axles. And as far as camber goes, didn't mess up any camber. I'll show you just in case you're like, "Well, you're going to mess up your camber when you lower it." Tell me that thing don't look straight. So if you do lower it with the down springs, it's not, no matter what you lower it, it's probably not going to throw the camber off a significant amount, because you can't lower these things that much unless you drop it on bags, and at that point then yeah, you're probably going to be messing up your camber. But if you do lift it, yes, your camber is going to get thrown off when you lift it. I forgot to mention that. The tires are kind of sitting a little bit like this instead of straight, and you'd think, oh, if you lowered it, your camber would be like this. Well, I mean, it's very, very minimal when you lower it. So you're not going to be wearing out your tires big time, or you're not going to be sitting stanced or anything crazy. Again, if you figured out how to put them on bags, that's a different story. But I mean, you can see, I mean, the alignment is pretty dialed on here. So that just means these, I don't want to, it's kind of hard. Let's see if we can see. Oh, yeah. So the CV axles are about straight. I can't really see what I'm looking at, but I think I'm looking at the CV axle. So the CV axles are pretty straight, so there's not a whole lot of stress on those at all. So these CV axles are gonna, and the boots are probably gonna last forever, knock on wood. But just be aware when you're looking for wheels for your Sambar. It's a 59.1 millimeter bore. So when you're I know this is a lot of information and it probably will get skipped over, but if you happen to run across this point in the video, this center bore needs to be at least 59.1 millimeters or more. These are, I think the Sparkos are usually around 70.1 or 70.3 or something. So you can buy hub-centric rings to sit on the hub if it is bigger. They're just plastic. You can get those off of like Amazon or eBay. It's not JDM specific. It's hub-centric ring. You can go to Discount Tire or something and pick them up if you don't know what the heck you're looking for. Those are very standard items for aftermarket wheels. Usually aftermarket wheels come with hub-centric rings. Let's see. And also pay attention to your wheel studs. Most wheels are fat. These wheels are very thick, so you don't get a lot of thread when you're tightening your lug nuts on. The blue truck I just showed you, no issues, because the wheel, that sparkle wheel, is very thin at the hole, so you can put on your stock lug nuts and you'll be just fine. But these, however, they required the longer, the ET or something like that. I don't know, maybe that stands for extra thread. I'm not sure, but it's like a cone shape, your cone shape, typical cone shape lug nut, and then it has like a shaft that comes off, so it's like a longer shank, so it gets more thread on the wheel stud. So that's what you need to pay attention to when you're putting wheels on, because obviously you want to grab more than a few threads, or you're gonna rip them right off the studs, and you're gonna be in a world of hurt. And you can get longer wheel studs. I'm actually gonna try to start stocking those. So if you're in the market for doing wheels and you want the longer studs and want that little project to put in longer wheel studs, I'm going to try to stock those in the OK Garage store, so that you can just easily buy those and not have to worry about if they're going to fit or not, because they're going to for sure fit the Sambar. And then I'll probably look into the other vehicles once I get the Honda and the Bravo. I'll try to learn more about those as time goes on. But I think that's pretty much it. You just got to be aware of hub size and your offset. I think this offset was like a 42 or something like that, and the 13s was a 38. But just pay attention to the offset and the bore size, the hub bore size, as I was saying, when you're looking for wheels, and you should be okay. And I mean, worst comes to worst, put a spacer on there and try to go as small a spacer as you can, because obviously the more space you go out, the more stress you're going to be putting on that wheel bearing, and you're going to just be burning wheel bearings up a lot quicker than you would if you weren't on spacers. Spacers are usually looked down upon, but if just like lifts, it's going to put stress on things that weren't made to have stress. But if you do it in moderation, just like everything, you should be okay. I mean, don't quote me, but I've been running wheel spacers like these on my cars forever, and I've never had any issues. Obviously, if you can, I would always repack bearings and stuff like that to kind of extend the life of the wheel bearings, but these are sealed bearings, so that's just something you'd have to replace altogether, and you can't really do a whole lot about it, I don't think. So yeah, I mean, I haven't made a video in a while. Been sick and just busy and moving stuff and all that good stuff, and now it's starting to snow, so it's a little takes a little more motivation to get out here. But I got my OK banner up. So yeah, I thought I would just do a little video and kind of, once you get your sandbar and you want to know what you can do with it, kind of the basic modifications, lifting and lowering and wheels. Obviously I probably didn't cover all your questions if you have them, so you can just leave a comment down below and I will always get back and try to answer your question. If I know the answer, I will answer it. If I don't know the answer, then yeah, I'll try to figure it out. But cool. Hopefully that was helpful, guys. I still have some other stuff that I need to get working on, and just gotta, now that I got a little more energy from being sick, I'll start working on that stuff and have more stuff to upload, because I definitely miss uploading videos. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, check out, check out the new website. okgarage.com is up. The website is running finally. I know before it was just a link tree, which was super lame. But I do have the website up, so if you got a second, check it out. I'm starting to get parts up finally for Honda Actis, Sambars, and then Bravo, Mitsubishi Bravo, and mini cabs. I'm going to start slowly adding parts into that. But check out the website, see what you think. It's kind of fun. Check out the customer team page. And I'm going to do a page where I put in customer trucks. So if you send me a picture of your truck on Instagram or whatever, or Facebook, I'll create like a customers page, because I just kind of want to make it a little community, you know? Like, I'm not just some freaking website that doesn't give two farts about anybody else. Like, we all have cool K trucks. They all have their unique stories. No one's K truck is better than the next person's K truck. We're all unique in their own way, and you know, that's what makes these trucks so special. I mean, this truck ain't any better than anybody else's truck. It's just lowered with wheels. So I mean, it's just has its own story and its own fun little, you know, it's fun little quirks to it. And I know everybody else has got some sick freaking K trucks, and even if yours is completely stock, you got your own little thing going for you right there, because you're keeping it like it just rolled out of Japan, which is totally awesome. So I want to try to make a little community page where we can post pictures of our trucks, and just so people can see them and get ideas on what to do. Because I mean, I get questions all the time. Wheels, what's your wheels, and is it lowered, is it lifted, is this done, and what's this, and blah blah blah. And if we just add pictures, everybody can kind of get ideas and work off of it. And so it'd be kind of cool to see what everybody else is doing, because it's just, we're all in our own little progress in K trucks, whether you're rebuilding one or you've got one that's nice and you're just doing cool things to it. So yeah, that's kind of fun. But I got parts on there, obviously. Not all of the parts that I have on eBay yet, but like I said, my parts are going to be cheaper on the website, because eBay hits you with fees and it's just like insane. So I try to compare prices on the website to eBay, so you can see, oh yeah, I'm getting a better deal on the website than I am on eBay. So I mean, it's personal choice if you want to buy it off of eBay or the website. I mean, makes no difference to me. You're just probably going to pay a little bit more on eBay because I have to combat the fees. So the website's going to be slightly cheaper. So I'm trying to draw people to the website to get off eBay and quit feeding the eBay machine. Because I don't agree with eBay, but that's just, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. I've been selling on eBay for 12 plus years, and it's just a constant battle with those guys. But that's why I'm finally trying to build a website. So again, check it out if you're bored. See what I got on there. And again, I'm going to add pictures of people's trucks and stuff with their permission. And then you can kind of, you know, see what other people are doing. So that'd be kind of fun. But yeah, until the next video, take it easy, guys. Stay warm if you're in snowy country. Get yourself a heater. All right, see you later, guys.